I was addicted to pornography. And with one single thought, I overcame my addiction. And if this helps one single person, I want to put it out there because even though pornography addiction can have so much shame, it is more worth it that somebody would benefit from this. In this video, I'm going to share an understanding of the nature of addiction. I'm going to share my personal journey with addiction and how I overcame it with a single thought. And at the very end of the video, stay until the very end because I'm going to share a way of understanding and dealing with cravings. This is the Rich Life Realization Podcast, where we explore what makes life really rich, really enjoyable, wonderful, exciting, and an experience that you can enjoy because you might be standing in your own way of your rich life. You might be missing out on the richness going on all around you. I'm here to help you reconnect with that. And today we're going to do it by talking about addiction. And addiction is very human. It is something that a lot of people deal with. I think we all have little addictions. Every single human has little addictions. And some of us have full-blown addictions where it affects our lives, that we have compulsions. And it's so very human. It's so very innocent too. We'll start with the nature of addiction because that is so important. The nature of addiction is that it is a seeking of a feeling. When we are addicted to something, really we want a feeling, or we want to get away from a feeling. So it is towards a feeling or possibly away from a feeling. And the reason why we get addicted to something is because we see that it worked once to bring us away from that feeling or towards another feeling. And we see that it worked and we say, oh, this is great. I've found the thing that's going to help me. And unknowingly, we start to go into a cycle of using that action. And it could be, for me, it was pornography. It could be mind-altering substances. Could be alcohol, body-altering substances. It could be, you can be addicted to pretty much anything. I think one of the things that I did is when I had my pornography addiction, I replaced it with another addiction, and I was addicted to self-help and meditation and yoga and qigong, and that was an addiction for me, even though it was a healthier addiction, because I had a misunderstanding of the way that the feeling and thought system worked. And I thought that from action, feeling comes from. That you can do an action, like you can watch pornography or do a meditation or drink alcohol, and you would feel better, different, away from a feeling or toward a feeling. But it's kind of funny because that's not actually how it works. Really, our feelings come from our thoughts. And so it is a mistake that we think that the feelings come from the circumstances around us or a substance or an action. And it worked once for us because it did change our thoughts. And we got into a different feeling state. It triggered different thoughts. But the funny thing is that it doesn't always work, does it? When we have addiction, we need more and more of the substance or the activity or the thing in order to feel better. And that's because we need more and more of it to change our level of thinking. And there's sometimes when it works great, and sometimes when it doesn't work at all, does it? And at that point, we're like kind of going a little bit crazy. We're roaring in our heads. We become hyper focused on the addiction. And I think we know that the addiction is bad for us intellectually. But we have this thought that the addiction is what we need in order to feel better. What if we could let that go? What if we could be in our own feeling state and let that be okay? And know that new thoughts will come along and that our feeling state will change. What if we could be more present with our emotions, with how we feel, and stop trying to control them? I think if we could do that, and if we could do that from that place of knowing, then a lot of the addictions that happen in the world would just kind of evaporate. They would just disappear, be here one moment and gone the next. And that's kind of what happened to me. Because I struggled with my pornography addiction. It started when I was in a teenager in middle school. I first encountered pornography. And I was using it. I understand this now, but I didn't understand it then. I was using it as a coping mechanism. That when I felt bad, when I felt especially stressed, that was kind of like a de-stressing for me. And it really impacted my life. It made my marriage way more challenging. I think it poisoned my sex life. I think it poisoned my mind. I know it did. I see that now. But at the time, I didn't think I had a problem. And that's, of course, the first stage is kind of figuring out that you had a problem. And I think for me, the wake-up call was when I couldn't stop. When I was asked to stop by my wife, who I really care about, and I couldn't. I wasn't able to, even though I wanted to, even though I started to see how it was affecting our relationship. And once I started to do that, because the funny thing is I had made this decision so many times. Oh, I'm gonna stop, but it didn't stick. I'd be like, oh, well, I could have a cheat day kind of thing. It's totally fine. Like people do that all the time on diets or so I'm going to have a cheat day. And I would make it work in my brain to where I'm like, oh, I don't have an issue because I'm only doing it on this cheat day. But of course, it didn't work like that. When I was stressed, that was something I would go to because I had that misunderstanding of the thought feeling system, and I thought that I needed to do that action in order to feel better, to feel differently, to get away from the stress, the fearful, the anxious feelings. But it was coming from my thoughts. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I was just like doing my thing. And so I would say, okay, I have this cheat day. And I would just keep going along with it, knowing that I wasn't being true to myself, knowing that I wanted to stop. And then there came a day, and I think I know what is different now, but I have a hard time telling you what was different about that day that I had the decision. I think I know now. It was different from before. Why was it different? Because it worked. I stopped. Of course I was triggered again, but I didn't fall back into that habit. I stopped. And it was simple and it was clear. And I said a single thought. It was a single thought. I am going to stop now. I made a decision. Like I said, I at the time I couldn't have told you, even weeks after, months after, I couldn't have told you what the difference was, but I think I know the difference now. I had made the decision before in my personal mind, my intellectual mind, my ego mind. Oh, I'm going to stop. Oh, I'm going to do this. But there was still some unclarity, some confusion, maybe some pushing away of it, some I wasn't taking full ownership. And when I had that decision, it was simple, it was clear. I just stopped. And I think that decision came from a deeper space within me. I talk about like the personal mind and the infinite mind. So I think it came from that infinite mind, that infinite place within me. It was more clear. I was ready. It was time. And I was committed to it. I saw it clearly. I saw how it was affecting my life. And I said, I'm done. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be that simple for everyone, that they can make that single decision. But I think that if they connect with who they really are, they let there be space, that the personal mind stops worrying around and clouding everything, that they can have that realization, that single thought that changes the behavior, that changes the trajectory of their life. It could happen at any moment. And that's kind of the cool thing. We are made for transformation because who we think we are is made of thought, is an idea. You are conceptual. And your addiction is not a real thing in the world. It is made of thought too. It is made of that emotion and that craving and that desire and that cycle, the cycle of thinking that you have. That's kind of cool because thinking is not a real thing in the world. It can come up and dissolve back into itself. Now it can come up and we can keep it, and it can become solid and real and feel really real, feels emotionally real. But at any moment, it can just dissolve away and drop. And something new can come forward. Something that is aligned with who we really are. And that is where change happens. That is where we connect with soul, with clarity, with understanding, with our knowing. And so this has transformed my life. Like I said, I kind of changed addictions. I replaced it for a better one, but I was still addicted. I was still addicted to self-improvement, and there was that addiction until I learned what all of this was made of, and I dropped it. I was addicted to making myself feel better through something else. And maybe in our next steps in our addictions, it can be okay to trade addictions. Maybe that is our next step in the journey, but I think that we can let go of it completely when we see what it's really made of. And that's powerful. That is when true change will happen, and we can drop it and we can be at peace. We really can. Peace is available to you at any moment. Right now, it is a single thought away. Sid Banks would say that. Peace is a single thought away. If it comes from that space with it. And I promise to end the video with something that will help with our cravings, because I'll still have echoes of my pornography addiction every once in a while. It's just echoes. It's just old noise in my head. It's old stale thinking. I can still get triggered and see like something on the internet where it's kind of sexy, but it's not pornography, and I can go down a rabbit hole in my brain. But I tend to be able to drop it. Like I said, I haven't looked at it for 5.5 years. I can't believe I'm saying this. That's cool. It's improved my life so much in my relationships. May it improve yours if you can drop it. But when our cravings come up, it means that, and they're not like triggered by something. It means that we are going into the old feeling state. It means that our level of consciousness has dropped. Our thinking has become less clear. And whenever our mood dips, we have that thinking that pops up. And for a lot of people, it is that addictive thinking. And so when you have cravings, it's very helpful to know, oh, my mood has just dipped, and that's okay. That is a part of this whole process. And that eventually, if I wait, my mood will go back up. That I don't have to do anything. I don't have to solve the mood right now in this moment. I can let it be. And I know where it's coming from. It's coming from my thinking. I can let the thinking dissolve. And the mood will dissolve along with it. The feeling, the emotion will dissolve along with that thought. It's a little slower, but it will dissolve. And I will be brought back. Have that trust. You will be brought back because that infinite space within you will bring you back. Trust in that. This is the Rich Life Realization Podcast, where we explore the richest life possible. And if you struggle with emotion, please watch my other video. It's only 2, and it is a simple understanding of emotion. And that can help you understand this a little bit more deeply. And if you are struggling with addiction, reach out to somebody for help. Because we are all human, and know that it's okay. It's a part of being human. It's a part of living our lives, and it is a misunderstanding, an innocent misunderstanding of how our thought and feeling and emotions work. And when you know better, you'll do better. I think that's a Maya Angelou quote. So may this understanding bring you peace.